another video. And with this video, I kind of came up with this idea from whenever I was doing my Xbox Scorpio video. There seemed to be some kind of misconception in there that I was like biased or a fanboy or something. And I came up with an idea for a video, which is this one. And that is kind of just to discuss and talk. This is almost a vlog, only without, my face and a camera, obviously. Kind of just a conversation. Not really a conversation, more of an about me. I figured, you know what? I might as well just go over and, tell you guys. I figured this would be interesting about my gaming history, how I got into gaming, the platforms I've played on through the years. So yeah, I thought that would be very interesting. So this is kind of just a chill thing, and I think this would be fun to discuss. And obviously, you guys in the comment section below, if you want to, go ahead and post or comment about your own experiences growing up with games, where you started, the games you've played, why you are where you're at now, etc., etc. Yeah. So I just thought this would be fun. And discuss with each other, I think, you could have conversations as a comment. I just think this would be a fun idea. So, me, myself, I grew up in a time before video games were really, really big. The only one that was really big was the NES and the Super Nintendo. And then, you had like the Sega Saturn, and all the Sega consoles back then too. But I wasn't really into video games growing up initially until I was about 7 or 8 when I got my first taste of it. I was really more, I'd be outside playing cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers or whatever you'll have it with my, my best friend who lived next door to me. But I remember one summer we were messing around a closet that was downstairs at my mom's house. Because my parents were split up. And actually, they might not have been split up yet. I don't remember. Anyways, we found, my parents had this Atari in there, and we decided we'd play it. We found a few games for it, like Space Invaders and stuff. I don't remember which Atari system it was off the top of my head. This was a long time ago. It was an Atari system. I do remember the joystick. For those of you who might be younger, it might not get the saying, a joystick. It's kind of a funny, dirty joke saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna play with my joystick." Talking about, basically beating your meat. Not a family friendly kind of thing to say, but a joystick is talking about your dick, right? And a lot of people might not know where that saying comes from, especially people who are like, might be 15, 16. But where it comes from basically is that, because back then, and, in the olden days of gaming, before the Nintendo, it was like there was a square and then there was a stick, right? There was a stick that you had to grab and hold and move it to move your stuff, and it was a joystick. That was what controllers were. Usually there was a couple buttons on the little square base I'm talking about. And yeah, I remember that. That's probably the thing that stuck to me most, and I thought it was pretty fun. And then I remember going to my dad's house like a year or two later. I remember my friends had a Super Nintendo. And, before I go on to the next part, I remember my friends... Zach and Sheldon next door had a Super Nintendo. We'd go over all the time. I remember during the summer and we'd play it. And they had like this Goofy, Disney Goofy video game. And there were some cool games on there. And we would play it. And it was a grand old time. And that's when I started kind of considering video games as an actual pastime. And then I remember going to my dad's house and... my stepmom had a friend, her name was Dana, and basically she had a son, Daryl, and I remember he had a PC and he would play a lot on there, but he also had the normal NES. I remember the old Ninja Turtles games and stuff like that. But then he also had like a Game Boy. I remember there was a Tom and Jerry game. Like I was playing with it one time when I was over there, and I kind of really got into it. But where I'm going with this eventually is like a year or so, something. I mean, a lot. If my time scale, not my time scale, if my timeline is a little messed up with some of this stuff, it's because this is like I'm going over basically my entire life right now. So some of it is a little blurry, but most of it's pretty much give or take in the right order. But I remember there being NES that we found. Just a little bit of a explanation. My dad, me, and my sister, we'd go garage shopping all the time, front yard sale, whatever you want to call it, whatever you call it. And I remember there was this one where there was this NES. I think it was like $5 or $10 for this NES. And I was like, yeah, I want my own console, right? So my dad, being the generous soul he is, go ahead and forked up the $5, $10, maybe $15 it was. I don't remember exactly. I was still like really low at the time. And yeah, so I had this Nintendo. It came with a few games. I think it came with the Duck Hunter and the Mario. But at the same time, I remember Daryl, the guy, this is why I brought him into this conversation, was getting rid of his stuff. But I don't remember the exact details. Maybe no one really wanted Nintendo, but they were still trying to get rid of the games or something like that. Anyways, I remember from them, I remember getting this huge cardboard box just full of games. Like the original Metal Gear was in there, the Zelda, which was one of my favorite games, at the time. All that stuff. And I just, was it Extreme Bike? The one where you were the bike and, you can create tracks and go around? I don't remember. But basically, I had all these games, and that's when I first started really kind of getting into it. But then I remember, I never had a Super Nintendo. I never went to that next step. The only time I ever had a Super Nintendo was when I was at Zach and Sheldon's house, and we played that. But I do remember the PlayStation 1 was coming out. Now, I had a year or two with the NES, and the PlayStation 1 was coming out. I remember I wanted it so bad. Like, I was telling my parents, like, that's all I want. I just want that and a couple games. I don't even care if y'all don't give me anything else. I don't have anything else under the tree. I want that PlayStation. It looks cool. It's 3D. It's 3D graphics. I remember back when I thought that those graphics were so good and so state-of-the-art. And basically I got it for Christmas. And I still remember my mom not, this is back before the ESRB ratings were really understood. And she went and got me, what were the games? I remember one of them was Judge Dredd. And I don't remember what was the other game? I don't remember the other game. It was another, just something that kids should not play. It might have been Spawn. I don't remember. But anyways, games that kids should not be playing, but I got them. And my time with the PlayStation 1 is probably some of my most nostalgic. There's a couple of games that really stand out to me. Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. And the reason why I know is because, as anyone who's on my channel knows, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. And Final Bout was my first foray into Dragon Ball games. I remember, because anyone who knows anything about that game knows that it was kind of a crappy game, but it was so rare. There wasn't really a whole bunch of them made. And there was the Blockbuster we always went to, they had one copy. They had one copy of the game. I remember I used to go in there every time just waiting for it to show up on the shelf. And one time it finally was, and then we got it and everything. And I remember going on, we used to have a web TV in the downstairs house on my bedroom. And I remember walking away from my TV in my bedroom, going there and looking on the web TV, looking for the cheat codes to unlock the characters. I remember playing a Super Saiyan 4 Goku before I even really knew what Super Saiyan 4 was. Just unlocking all the characters, going to the story mode. I remember the opening was the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was just like the anime, but like on the PlayStation, that was just, it blew my mind. The other thing I remember Pizza Hut used to do demo discs, and like they would, come with like special orders or something. I don't remember, but I remember one time we were at my dad's house, and the pizza guy was late as hell. He was like 45 minutes late. And they basically gave us some options of what we wanted in return. And one of them was a demo disc, a PlayStation demo disc. And I remember begging my dad, I was like, Yeah, I want the demo disc. So he decided, they said, okay, whatever. So I got the demo disc, and there was a lot of cool games on there. There was a surfboard one. I think it was like 1080. Was it? Some surfboarding game that me and my friends used to play a lot. Um, but the one that really stuck out to me was Final Fantasy VIII. That was my first foray into Final Fantasy. And because I don't even think I had, yeah, because I never played the Super Nintendo other than at my friend's house. They had the original Final Fantasy, but I didn't. They never played it because it wasn't really a 2-player game or anything like that, so I never played it. So on my PlayStation 1, I got Final Fantasy VIII. I never really touched Final Fantasy VII. And I just loved it. It was such a great time. Like, I really, really enjoyed that demo. I remember it. It was that, and Metal Gear Solid was also on the demo. But funnily enough, I never got my hands on the original Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1. I didn't play it until Twin Snakes on the GameCube, which is the same game, just redone. But I really loved it. And then once again, bringing up Daryl, like his mom, I remember she was watching me one time, and I brought my PlayStation over to their house, and they decided to go to Blockbuster or whatever. And I mean, I guess it's because Daryl and then his sister Alicia were too old, so she didn't really get to dot on them like kids anymore, or dote, however you fucking say that. And basically, she was like, okay, you can rent something. I remember I rented an Incredible Hulk game, which was terrible, but my young stupid ass loved it. But then I saw Final Fantasy VIII there also, and I was like, I really want to play this. I played the demo. It's a really great game, and she let me get it too. I remember sitting there, she was watching me play or whatever, but I was playing it, and God, I fell in love with that game. And eventually I begged my mom to get it for me. Eventually I got it, a copy myself. But man, I loved that game, and that's why, like, that is the game. This is why I'm playing it for the footage of this video in the background, is because that game is what made me truly fall in love with video games. That game is probably, if nothing else for nostalgia, my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VIII. Better, in my opinion, better than 7. My experience of 7 is I eventually got 7 too. I begged my mom to get it for me because I was too little at the time. We're still talking only like 8 or 9. Yeah. Because it came out in like 98 or 99. So 7 was before that. See, I'm like 8 or 9 at this point in time. We go to Walmart. We get the Final Fantasy VII, right? And I'm so happy and everything. We're driving away. I'm about to open up because, games actually used to come with booklets, instruction manuals and stuff. And I loved reading them and stuff while I was taking a crap on the toilet or something. Just getting ready to play the game, get myself mentally ready. I used to love doing that. I really miss manuals. But we were in the car and I was trying to read it. I opened it up. So the games were big, right? So you had discs. And Final Fantasy VIII was 4 discs. Like once you got to a certain point, it told you to switch the discs out. 7 had 3 discs. And in the game, and this wasn't a used. This was from Walmart. This was a brand new game. It only had disc 1 and 3. Disc 2 did not come in it. So my experience with Final Fantasy VII is I played it after 8. So that might have been why, because most people played 7 first and then they played 8. My first one was 8. But I tried to play 7. I got to the end of disc 1 and I was like, you know what? We're done here. But yeah, I told my mom about it. She was like, oh no, we're too far away from the store. I'm not going back to return it. And in retrospect, it's probably really lazy and stupid of my mother to do that because, it's money. But, it is what it is. But anyways, so that's my experience of 7. That's why I don't really like 7 as much as 8, probably. But 8 is my favorite. What else? I think that's about it for the PlayStation 1. I mean, there were some other games that I really enjoyed, but nothing that really popped out to me. Like, that stick with me to this day. And then I got an N64 eventually. I remember I mowed the lawn all summer. This was like a few years later, and I really wanted an N64. My sister had an N64 in her room. I remember to play it. I used to go into her room. We'd play like Super Smash Brothers. I remember another friend from my childhood, Logan. He he was really good at it. He knew a lot of stuff. He knew a lot of the codes, a lot of tricks and stuff. And we didn't invite him. Like I remember, there was one time my sister was gone, doing something for like school or something, and I invited him to come over, and we snuck. We went, well, not really snuck. She went there. We went to my sister's room when I wasn't supposed to be in there, and tried to play because I was trying to get him to help me unlock some characters. Those are good times. But anyways, I remember I wanted one of my own in my own room. So I mowed the lawn like all summer, and I got paid like $5 like a week to do it. And I saved up my money, and I bought the N64. The N64 was the first console I've ever bought with my own money. I remember I was very proud of that. And I got Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That was my first game. I played Donkey Kong 64 and Smash Brothers on my sister's, but it was the first game on mine. A lot of people might be wondering, why didn't you were old enough at the time? Why didn't you play Ocarina of Time first? It was a better game. In my own opinion on that is, well, I think they're actually both equally good, but for different reasons. But like Ocarina of Time overall is a masterpiece, but Majora's Mask is the side quests, and the world just feels alive because everyone has their own schedule and everything. Just the way the game was set up. And because, it used expansion packs, so it had better graphics too. But the reason why is because leading up to it, right, I remember, I don't know why, but Nintendo sent a VHS tape in the mail to us. And this might be why I really got interested. Yeah, this was actually why I was really interested in getting a 64. It was specifically for Majora's Mask. I remember watching the VHS tape, and it had like a special features on it, and it outlined everything you could do. And I remember watching it and just being like, oh my, like I fell in love with this game watching it. And this is before the advent of YouTube and all this stuff, right? This is back when you got your news from like Nintendo Power and the magazines. And I saw this, and I remember seeing the masks, like the part of the features they showed, the transformation sequence of whenever he puts on the Zora mask. And it reminded me a lot of another game that I've kind of enjoyed on the PlayStation, which was 40 Winks, if any of you guys remember that, when you could become different beings. And that just I had no idea what Zelda was other than I did. The original Zelda, like I said, I played it on the NES. But it was like 3D of that, and you could turn into these different creatures. It's like, sign me up. So I wanted the 64 for that. So I played Majora's Mask first. I really loved that game. When I got finished with Majora's Mask, I was like, I want more Zelda. I want more 3D Zelda. And I wasn't even aware of Ocarina of Time. Funny thing is, I actually found another yard sale, this old Nintendo Power, this older Nintendo Power, not old at the time. It was from when Ocarina of Time was coming out, so I was reading it. And I found it was talking about Ocarina of Time, but it was like pre-alpha pictures. It was like the leading up to it. So there were some things in there, like some items you could see in the images that I don't think made it to the original game. It looked like Link was eating something in one image. I don't remember. It was weird, but it looked awesome. So I was like, I want to get Ocarina of Time. So eventually, once again, I saved my money, had my mom bring me to Walmart, begged her stuff, because we lived out in the middle of the country, so going to Walmart was a big deal. So went and got Ocarina of Time, and I enjoyed that game too, a lot. So really, like the Zelda games, Smash Brothers, and Donkey Kong 64 were like the games that got me really, really into Nintendo again. But then I remember the new consoles were going to be coming out soon, and the first one I remember being really hyped was the PlayStation 2. I remember, once again, Zach and Sheldon got it first. I remember going to their house when they first got it, and then we were going to spend the night, right? Me, my other friend, Michael, and then them, and then they had a friend over of theirs from their old school that came over, and we all went to Blockbuster. They picked out, Madden 2001, I think? No? 2000? I don't remember. But I remember we got it, we plugged it in, and I was like, oh my gosh, it looks just like it does on TV. Obviously an over-exaggeration, because looking back on it now, it really doesn't. But at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, it does. And I mean, here's the reason why I say this is, I remember back on the PlayStation 1 days, we used to marvel at, game day, because you could, it would have grass that would go on the pants of the players, right? And I remember Madden '99. Michael had it. And this is when I first fell in love with Madden because he used to like the Broncos because of their uniforms, and I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, as everyone knows. So I would always play as the Chiefs, and he would always play as the Broncos. And we'd always be playing each other. I'd always just throw to 88, which was Tony Gonzalez, because I didn't know any better. Good choice, though. If I was going to throw to one guy, that was the guy to throw it to. But we'd play it all the time. So that was my experience with Madden. That's what really got me into it. It was actually his game. I actually ended up trading him for it later. And that's the game I played. But I remember in Madden 99, if you take the disc out, there's actually some art behind the disc. And it was like these 3D models that weren't actually in the game. They were like pre-rendered. But it was like, oh my god, I can't wait until video games get to this point. When really, if you look at the way graphics are now, or even like they were in the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, oh, they just blew away. They just blow away what that pre-rendered image looks like already now. But so it's amazing to think about how far we've come. But at the time, that is what it is. But anyways, so that's why I was marveling so much at the PS2 Madden. But the game that really got me is we used to go to their house and they had Grand Theft Auto 3. And I remember we used to have these things where like stay alive as long as you can. We'd set different challenges and stuff. Right, get as many. You had to have 5 stars and survive as long as possible, or do it without this weapon, or or using a car. We'd have all these kind of challenges. So Grand Theft Auto 3 is what really made me fall in love with PlayStation at the time. PlayStation 2 is one of my favorite consoles of all time, and that's the reason why. Really, is because Grand Theft Auto 3. My dad wouldn't let me have it. Eventually convinced my mom to let me have it though. Wait, no, actually my mom wouldn't let me have it either. I think they finally wised up to ESRB by then. But basically, I wanted to play it because I used to have dreams of like sitting in my bedroom and having my own PlayStation 2 and playing my own Grand Theft Auto. I really remember that. But I eventually got a PlayStation 2 of my own. I remember I was so excited. I've never been so excited for that more than that. I remember getting it on Christmas from both of my parents. I had 2 Christmases because my parents were split up. And I was like, I just want one of y'all to get it for me. And I remember my mom's Christmas, I got it. I was like, yeah. Or, no, my dad's actually. My dad's Christmas first. I remember opening it. And I've always been like emotionally reserved kind of person. But man, I let loose the emotions when I saw that PlayStation 2. I don't think I've ever been happier in my life for anything other than that. Gosh, I was so excited. But the funny thing is, because I think we had Christmas at my dad's house first that year, because we had an actual Christmas with my mom. Anyway, yeah, so we did that, and then I went and had Christmas with my mom, and then they got me a PlayStation 2 also. I was like, oh, I already got one. But I was like, okay, well, that's cool, because I have one from my dad's house, I have one from my mom's house. We're good. So at one point in time, I had 2 PlayStation 2s. So... yeah, so like I remember there was one Lord of the Rings game I really liked, and I actually still have my PlayStation 2. It's sitting right in front of me right now. I didn't have it for a while, but when I went home for vacation to see the Chiefs playoff game and see my family and everything, I made sure to grab it from my dad's house. If I ever figure out how to convert HDMI with the old PlayStation, that PlayStation 2, it's the original PlayStation 2. It's not the Slim, it's the original. Then I will do some videos on PlayStation 2 games if I can get that figured out. But anyways, so I was playing that. Loved it. I remember my first one was Madden 2001. That was my first one. And I remember I got it with my Christmas money, and I loved it. I remember just running as Priest Holmes. And my dad kind of sat down playing with me. He said something about, like, I'd try to skip past what Madden would say, or I wouldn't use them. And like my dad, or the practice mode, Madden would instruct you. My dad said something of like, you got John Madden teaching you how to play football or something right here. I remember that was the coolest thing. I remember I sat down and played with my dad a few times, and he's the one who kind of taught me a little bit about the actual schemes of the passing game, and following blocks. And I remember he beat the crap out of me because he kept on running curl routes. And the way the AI for defense was back then was so terrible, curl routes would destroy you every time. Like, my dad would just Alex Smith it on the curl routes all the way down the field. He beat me so bad. Oh, I had no idea what I was doing back then. Anyways, So yeah, that was the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 had some great games. Really, there were so many great games on it. There wasn't really any that stood out to me. Wow. But anyways, I went on a tangent on the consoles. One thing I forgot to bring up is back in my PlayStation 1 days. I also played a little bit of PC. I remember Big Thing Zach had played a lot of. He played a lot of PC, like Age of Empires and The Sims. So I remember eventually we got that for my computer at my mom's house, and I really enjoyed playing The Sims and the Age of Empire, and Age of Mythology was my favorite one. But I remember there was also this other kid that lived on the other side of the highway down the street. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Wow, he had blonde hair. I don't remember his name. He was like really into screamo music. But anyways, he played he had StarCraft and Diablo, and he actually let me borrow it to download on my computer. I remember we used to create servers and fucking just, go online and play together and everything. Him, me, and like Michael, we had our own little team or groups going on of StarCraft and Diablo. So that was really my first real foray in the PC gaming, where I really got into it. But after that, it kind of cooled off, and I was strictly console for a long time until like last year. Anyways, continuing back, eventually the PlayStation 2, eventually I got the Xbox. I also got the Xbox. And I got the GameCube later on because it was only like $99, and then used it was even cheaper. So eventually I got the GameCube too, but I only got the GameCube for Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and also Wind Waker. Which I didn't like Wind Waker at first, but it ended up being one of the better Zelda games there are. I really loved that game. But Twilight Princess is honestly my second favorite Zelda. Majora's Mask is probably still number one. Well, no, now let me rephrase that. Before Breath of the Wild came out, Majora's Mask was my number one. Twilight Princess was my number two, which is quite controversial because a lot of people don't like it. And Ocarina of Time number three. Wind Waker was number four. But yeah, the Xbox though, I got that first. The GameCube was the last one I got. I really just got it for Fable. I remember getting Game Informers, and then Fable, I was reading about it in the Fable issue. Man, they were saying your choices would matter, you would change, you would grow, you would age throughout the game. Oh my gosh, I bought the Xbox for Fable, and also for Halo, because all my friends played Halo a lot, and I sucked when I'd play with them because I had no practice. I didn't have an Xbox, so I literally just played Halo just to practice on my own. That's it. And I played story mode every once in a while. The story mode was interesting. I'm not a huge first shooter thing, but back then my friends were playing it, so obviously I wanted to play it too because that was half the fun. And but yeah, Fable was a big one right there. And then I remember we got Blitz the League for Xbox. And I think that's really all the Xbox games I really had. I really wasn't that into Xbox. PlayStation 2 was my main. It had so many good games. But then eventually I got GameCube, and I remember like I said, Wind Waker, great game. I remember Twilight Princess came out. I was living with I wasn't living with my dad at the time. I don't remember, but I was at my dad's at the time, and I remember walking. He lived in Kansas City, not out in the country like my mom did. And I walked to Zona Rosa, which is this mall boardwalk kind of thing, this big fountain in the middle, great hangout spot. And I remember I traded in my other PlayStation 2 and a bunch of other games to get Twilight Princess for the GameCube. And I might be skipping it on the PS3 and 360 stuff. I think that might have come out during it. I don't remember. But I traded in that. I think another console. I don't remember which one. A bunch of games. And I remember it was just enough to cover for Twilight Princess because GameCube is theft, basically. But I didn't care. I really want to play Twilight Princess. So yeah, that's about all the stories I really got for GameCube. It was my Zelda machine basically, and I also played Eternal Darkness. I also played Eternal Darkness. That was about it, and the Twin Snakes. But anyways, eventually the next console came out, and I kind of tried to research into them, and I remember the PS3 really didn't impress me. And this is why I say people need to stop saying, I'm a fan, because I'm not. Because I had both. I had all three. I had the Nintendo system, the Xbox system, and the PlayStation system on the previous generation. And then I went 360. I went all in on 360. I actually think I would have considered myself an Xbox fanboy during these days. I would shit on the PS3 so much. Like, the only game I really wanted to play, because I'm a huge Metal Gear fan, was Metal Gear Solid 4. Right? And that was it. Speaking of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, great PlayStation 2 game. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, like I was a Microsoft guy. I was an Xbox guy. Like, I had 360 all the way. Even when I got the Red Ring of Death, I went and got another one. I got another 360. And I really enjoyed that console. Oblivion was probably my best experience on the console. Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I remember getting the DLCs. That was my first foray to DLCs. Whenever they'd have like the castle, there was a castle for warrior type characters, and then like they had like this underwater sanctuary for like more evil kind of characters, and there was like a wizard tower on there, and I thought that shit was as cool as fuck. And then Shivering Isle, of course, hell yeah, and the Knights of the Nine, great DLCs. That was really the first time I ever really got into DLCs. And obviously the Fable games, they kind of fell off. I got really disappointed on Fable 2 and 3. But yeah, what other games did I play on the 360? That was like, the 360 was my only console that generation. I mean, eventually, whenever I joined the Navy, I ended up getting another 360 because I didn't bring it from my dad's house. I ended up getting another 360, and then I also got a Wii eventually because they were cheap. And my buddies had it. And I remember my favorite game on the Wii was Animal Crossing. Laugh if you want to, it was awesome. But then we'd also go to our buddy's room over at the barracks, and he had Blaze Blue, which that was the only time I ever played it. I haven't played it at all since. But I actually recently downloaded it on Steam, and I might do some videos with Blaze Blue. Once again, nostalgia just from my past. I could really kind of want it. It was on sale, anime sale last weekend on Steam. But yeah, the 360. Oh, duh! How the fuck did I almost forget this? Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy, and also Red Dead Redemption, and Mass Effect actually started off as an exclusive. There was actually Mass Effect 1 that's another story. How I found Mass Effect, I didn't even hear about it, right? I heard nothing about Mass Effect 1. It was after Christmas. I remember I had my 360. And once again, I had the Christmas money, right? So we go to Best Buy the day after with my dad. And I remember wanting to go, well, what game do I want to get? Like, this is one of my favorite things growing up, is getting a new game for my awesome console, the day after Christmas. And we were looking through Best Buy, and I saw this game, and I looked at the back of it, and I was like, oh, this looks really unique. It's like a space game. Because I remember my dad used to have this stupid little space game that was on his old computer that he actually played a little bit, which was weird. My dad playing a video game. He actually technically played games, I guess, before I did. Go figure. But it just looked awesome, so I bought it on a whim, and I ended up loving it. I beat the first Mass Effect, trying to see every single thing that's possible, just beating it. I beat that thing probably 20 to 30 times until I went to boot camp. And I remember I got out of boot camp, and I went to Groton, into sub school, and that Mass Effect 2 had just come out. That was the first thing I bought. I remember I played Mass Effect 2, like, once we got out of class, because I was still going through training at the time. Once we got out of class, it was a Friday. I went down to the Nex. I bought a bunch of junk food, snack food, energy drinks. They were Red Bulls. I think this is the only time in my life I ever drank Red Bull. I drank Monster after this, because I thought it tasted kind of like coffee syrup. But the Red Bull did. But, it was energy drink, so I bought it. I consumed it. So basically, I stayed up the entire weekend. I didn't sleep. I remember I sat down. It was Friday afternoon. I beat the game. I looked over, my roommates were asleep. I looked at my fucking clock, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to class in like 4 hours. It was insane. Like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. I've never. Mass Effect 2 is a great game. That's all I gotta say. If you haven't played Mass Effect 2, if you don't play any of the others, play Mass Effect 2. Trust me, it is a great game. One of the best games ever made. It's a masterpiece. But anyways, there's that. Another story of the Xbox before I move on is I remember when I decided on the Xbox, I told all my parents once again I wanted, both sets. I wanted the Xbox 360. The funny thing is, my mom bought me the Madden. I think it was 06 or 07. It was the one with Donovan McNabb on the cover, and I remember getting it and being like, "Oh my gosh, the graphics on the back are so amazing! Oh my, this really looks like real life." Like I remember there was a picture of Hines Ward on the back, and it like his face like perfect. Even how he kind of had like the popping out eyeballs. It was like that. It was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So, but then we went to my dad's house, and my dad did get me the 360, and I had that game for like a year and didn't have a 360, and I just had to stare at it. I remember that was the most excruciating thing in my life. But when I finally got the 360, it was awesome. Anyway, the next console generation comes around. I'm in the Navy at this point. I'm an adult. I'm adulting at this point, and I'm not going to get both consoles. And Xbox had that whole thing where at first they were going to say like you had to be connected to the internet to get on. And mind you, this bothered a lot of people, but this bothered me a lot more. And a lot of people don't even think of this when products come out because it doesn't affect them. But I'm in the Navy. I go underway on a ship. If I want to bring my console with me to play it on my off time, I can't connect to the internet when you're out at sea. Therefore, the Xbox would be useless to anybody basically in the military. So, I was like, hell no. So they already start off bad with me. I mean, obviously people aren't in the military even where it was bad, right? People would piss people off, but me especially. So even when they came out and said they weren't going to do it anymore, I'm like, okay, you're already on bad grounds. But let's see the tech. The tech came out. The PlayStation 4 was more powerful. The PlayStation 4 was $100 cheaper. The PlayStation 4 didn't try to pull some bullshit before release. So I waited. Why did I wait? Because the PlayStation 4s were selling like hotcakes. Meanwhile, the Xbox Ones were pretty much available the entire time, which was another red flag. Now my roommate in the barracks, I'm not in training anymore, but I was still living at the barracks. I lived in the barracks or on the ship for a long, long time. But I'm living at the barracks right now for a roommate, and he gets the Xbox One. So I even got to kind of see it at first. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait for the PlayStation 4. I'm going to wait for the better console. Because it was, and it is, until the Scorpio comes out at least, the better console. It has been the entire time. And also the lineup, even though it was scarce, looked better. The games I saw looked better. Obviously both of them were kind of scarce, but Watch Dogs looked very interesting. Of course it ended up not really being, but it looked very interesting. And, there was a few things, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to PlayStation. I'm going to go back to Sony. It looks like they got their shit together, which they've pretty much proven they did. So I got the PlayStation 4 Pro, and I pretty much, I have the PlayStation 4 Pro now, but I had the PlayStation 4, and I pretty much didn't regret it. Never regretted it for a moment. And once again, like I said, I've had, at some point in time or another, and even now, I have a 360 here. I love the 360. I've had all the consoles. I have not all the consoles, but from all the brands. In my possession right now, I have a PlayStation 2, a PlayStation 4 Pro, an Xbox 360, a Nintendo Wii U, and I have, which I'm not even going to go over because the Wii U isn't even, I bought it for Zelda. That's it. I only have Zelda games for it. That's not really worth mentioning. Zelda's worth mentioning, especially Breath of the Wild, but y'all already know about it. I already did my review on that on this channel. I don't have to rehash that. But the console, the Wii U, is not worth mentioning. And then now I have a gaming rig, a beast of a gaming rig PC. which has been giving me issues, but I think it's because my graphics card is faulty and I'm about to upgrade anyways. So there's that. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. We're here now to modern day Solid Shepard here, being... Well, actually, no, I guess I should explain how I went to PC. I definitely want to explain how I went to PC. But yeah, so I had the PlayStation 4. Great games. At first, it was kind of slow, but it was slow for both consoles, and especially for the Wii U. But now, within like the last year, we've gotten a lot for PlayStation, and Microsoft's been kind of fucking up even more. They do have Scorpio coming out, but software sells consoles, not hardware. Let's see what they got at E3. And by all accounts, it sounds like it's going to be like $500, and I would have given the Scorpio a break if it would have been $450. I could have been like, okay, that's good value, but $500 or more, it's not good value for what it does. You might as well buy a gaming PC that at the same price is going to be slightly better, and you can upgrade it in the future, and you can do way more with it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's not what this video is about. So PlayStation 4, great, but I remember not quite a year ago, but within the last year, I went onto a YouTuber, which I definitely suggest suggest checking him out. Rags. His YouTube handle is Rags. His Twitter handle is Your Pal Rags. His thing is a dog, a PC gamer. I remember there was a few anti-SJW in gaming videos that I really liked from his, but then I came across one that was like anti-console. And mind you, for the most part, I've been a console fanboy up to this point. Now, I wasn't like an Xbot or a Sony pony, because I've had each, right? I wasn't a fanboy for a brand, but I was a fanboy for consoles. And Nintendo. I had Nintendo too. I was a fanboy for consoles as a whole. I was sitting here trying to make all these arguments with him, and all his guys, subscribers were teaming up on me, and he just kept on being like, well, no, this and that, Steam games for cheaper, they have a lot of sales, and I was trying to say like, oh, well, the PlayStation Store has sales, GameStop never has sales. I was being stupid, but I wouldn't accept it. I was being hard-headed. But later down the line, I saw some other stuff. I saw some of his other videos. I actually started looking into it, and I realized, I finally accepted, he's telling the truth. And that's when I decided I want to get a PC. So now I'm at the PC. It's probably going to be the final one. If a console comes out next generation and has enough exclusives that I am excited about, then I might buy that console for those exclusives that I am excited about when it goes on sale. But I've pretty much gone PC as my main now. And that's where we're at. Now we're at modern day. Here we are. And I just kind of wanted to do this video to give you guys a little retrospective of where I'm coming at as a gamer. I don't hate Xbox. I don't hate PlayStation. I don't hate Nintendo. I'm also not, loyal to them. I don't owe them anything. They owe me something as a consumer. Rags kind of help open up my eyes, and I become pro-consumer, as it should be. So whenever I say something, it's not to down you. It's to try and help you understand that you're overpaying or you're not getting what you should be getting from a certain brand, that they're fucking you over. And if you're okay with that, then fine. But I'm just trying to help you out. Like, when I say the Xbox One Scorpio is not that impressive, I'm talking about in terms of the whole market, including PC. As a console, it's a very, very powerful system. But when you compare it to PC, it's really not. When you compare it to the PS4, it is. But once again, it's supposed to play also, another point, games for the original and for the Scorpio. And that's going to hold it back. So it's not going to even use all the power it's being given. And when you consider the Pro can... checkerboard scale 4K for a much cheaper asking price. The PS4 Pro is more value than the Scorpio, especially whenever you consider the libraries of each system. That's all I was really saying. I wasn't trashing Microsoft. I trashed their business practices a lot, but I trashed Sony's business practices too. I just haven't really made a bunch of videos about it, but over social media, I have had arguments with people about it. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a really, really long video, a lot longer than what I usually do, but I feel like it was a good video. I feel like it was something that some people might be interested in. And let me know what you guys think down there of anything I said. If you want to talk about your experiences through your life in gaming, how it's, impacted your life, feel free. Let's go ahead and have a conversation down in the comment section below. As always, this has been Solid Shepard, and I should go.